It is time to tell the truth about the Resident Evil 4 remake, because when I initially reviewed this game, Capcom had some very strange restrictions as to what reviewers could and couldn't talk about. They weren't allowed to discuss the guns, you couldn't show certain monsters, you couldn't even actually use your own gameplay that you had recorded. So it was a bit strange. I still love this game. It is a 10 out of 10, but now that I've beaten it 3 separate times, I want to do a deep dive with you as a mega fan discussing why currently RE4 is my game of the year. Now, let's get into that. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, this video is going to be completely spoiler-free. I'm not trying to taint your experience. I'm not trying to show you the last boss. I'm not looking to do stuff like that. I just want to discuss this because it does feel like there is a lot of speculation and rumors that, quite frankly, are completely wrong. People are claiming there's a bunch of cut content. I've seen people say the controls are bad. This game is dang near perfect. But I want to start things off by talking about the terror of Resident Evil 4, now that I can actually show you my gameplay recorded on the Xbox Series X. Now, this game is definitely the scariest of all the Resident Evils. In fact, if you're somebody that actually is very jumpy, there are segments in here that legitimately had me trembling. Specifically, there are chunks of this game that are very much bathed in darkness. Creepy hallways, chanting cultists, weird science experiments that are creeping around in the dark. The Resident Evil 4 remake creates this beautiful tension that definitely didn't exist in the original version. This game moves through multiple environments, including a castle, a village, weird, creepy military bases and stuff like that. But in the original version of this game that came out back in 2005, even as somebody that did enjoy it at the time, I always thought that Resident Evil 4 was such a big departure from the classic games. I grew up completely obsessed with Resident Evil 2 specifically. I played a lot of Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 3, and Code Veronica, but something about Resident Evil 2 was just so perfect that me and my friend group got incredibly into just pretending to be the characters, even playing with the toys, reading the goofy novelizations and stuff like that. This is the first game that really feels like it is trying to follow directly in the footsteps of Resident Evil 2. The Resident Evil 4 remake directly follows the events of the Resident Evil 2 remake, actually having Leon reflect on the loss of Raccoon City. I mean, he is one of 4 survivors from a city that just a couple days ago, before he showed up, had hundreds of thousands of people living in it. He got wiped out with a nuclear bomb. Leon has some deep freaking trauma, and the Resident Evil 4 remake actually addresses that. The original game, no hate to that, but it always felt a bit weird that the 2005 version of this, he's making silly jokes, he's quipping, he's throwing around grapple hooks, and that was fun at the time, but now it's great to see the ultimate payoff to the establishment to the character of Leon. This is definitely a much darker take. It's a game that actually expects you to take it seriously, and while he does still make quite a bit of goofy jokes, he definitely is still sarcastic at times. This feels like a much more adult Leon. But I want to talk a bit about the gameplay now that I can actually show it to you. It is glorious. I have seen some people posting online that apparently the controls are bad or whatever. I experienced none of that. I played this on the Xbox Series X, and even after 40 hours of this, I still cannot get enough of just how great it feels to get a headshot, to kick somebody, to stun a target, and then stab them in the neck. There is wall-to-wall amazing freaking moments that happen just constantly because the controls, the AI, and the scares are so perfectly melded together. Just a bit ago, right before I started to record this, I was playing a bit of a random run, and I was pretty early on, and I saw this random hanging collectible. And I was like, oh, a rare artifact. I'm going to grab that. So I shoot it, I start to pick it up, and suddenly a chainsaw dude busts out of nowhere, and this is on the hardest difficulty, and so I'm kind of panicking, and then he gets his foot stuck in a freaking bear trap. So I have a chance to turn the tide, to try and shoot him, to stun him, to stab him. I love those moments in this game so much. This has a beautiful organic chemistry of terror, of chaos, and of freaking epic kills. It feels like some horror games try and walk that very delicate line between being scary, but not being so scary that you quit playing. There has been a lot of discussion about the fact that apparently Resident Evil 7 was so scary, like a big chunk of the audience quit playing it before they finished it. So it feels like the RE4 remake, it walks this fine line between trying to scare you and then giving you breaks, having safe areas, having a chance to just sort of do something silly, like go to a shooting gallery with a bunch of target dummies that are dressed like freaking pirates. Stuff like this brilliantly breaks up the pace and kind of creates that fun vibe that this is a video game, that you are safe, that you can enjoy this roller coaster of terror. And I completely respect the fact that even this like shooting gallery, I feel like it encapsulates the fact that there is so much side content in this game that with the initial review, I wasn't allowed to talk about. Now, here's the thing. You're probably wondering, why would you beat this game 3 times? It's a Resident Evil. You defeated the last boss, you escape, okay, that's great, you survived. But that's not really what this is about. Resident Evil is about that replayability. Even after the first run, you unlock an ultra hard mode called Professional. Now, a normal difficulty, the game is pretty easy. I think that for the most part, enemies die to headshots, takedowns are pretty easy to land, most of the bosses move slow enough that you can hit their weak point, but the more you turn the difficulty up, the enemies become smarter, they hit harder, and items become more expensive. Also, additionally, if you play it on the ultra hard mode called Professional, that takes away auto checkpoints. The only way you come back is from a manual save at a typewriter. All of these difficulties, though, are very, very fun, and they made me further appreciate the New Game Plus, obviously, because it was fun to carry over a lot of my upgraded super pistols with piercing ammo, and additionally, I loved all of the side quests. I did my best to try and find and do every single sub-quest in the game, and I think there's roughly about 12 or 13 of them. Now, some are a bit repetitive, stuff like shoot 5 blue coins. There's a couple of those. Starting area has some, the castle has some blue coins. You know, you shoot them, you get a cash prize, or actually you get a spinal. These are like little tiny gems that can be exchanged for extra delicious exclusive loot from the merchant, which we're going to talk about in a second. But there are more extravagant and weird quests. Somebody asks for a chicken egg, a golden chicken egg, and it kind of seems like they want to put it up their butt. I mean, the wording sort of makes it seem like that. They said, give me a golden egg. Don't ask. That's half the fun. That kind of sounds like it's going in your hoo-ha. But then there's other great quests. Sometimes you will find optional mini bosses, a super-powered dog, a huge possessed suit of armor full of Las Plagas that's way bigger than other enemies. Now, these are not required, they are optional, but when you find them, they mark it on your map, and basically it's just extra encouragement to go out of your way. Now, the rewards, to me, that's not even what it's about. Like, it's cool to get extra spinals and get those extra cool, like, well, insane upgrades, but to me, it is about the fact that these bosses are so freaking fun. It's so cool to see completely new content that did not exist being added in here, and it's so well tuned. It's so freaking fun. I want to talk a bit about the bosses without really showing them, just about the major bosses themselves in this game. They have been changed. Each of them has been tweaked. They've been altered. They've been sort of improved in different mechanics to make them much more vicious, much more mobile. I think that some people are going to encounter a bit of difficulty when it comes to bosses, but they're very generous with the ammunition. Honestly, if you die in this game, they do a thing where they're like, hey, do you want to put it on assisted easy mode? Don't ever do that. Honestly, this game is already pretty easy. You just need a tiny bit of patience. I still love the fact that every single boss is new. Every single puzzle is completely remixed. Every single encounter is new. Every freaking random zombie you encounter, the Ganados, have extra dialogue lines. I think the only two things I didn't completely love in this are voice actor choices. The person who played Ada Wong, you hear from her quite a bit, and she sounds very bored. I think she's trying to convey the disaffected assassin of oh yeah, that's right, I'm here to help you out, but I don't even care. This is a paycheck. It feels a bit off. And additionally, Krauser. Krauser, he doesn't have that same brutal confidence that he had as the original voice actor. The guy who played him back in 2005, he really had this gravitas of I'm Krauser. I'm here to mess you up, Leon. Oh yeah, let me show you what you did. The new guy is more like, hi, I'm Krauser. You and I served in the war together. And that's fine. I don't have any qualms with that. I just wish it had that same amount of oomph, that anger built up to it. Other than that, I think this game is freaking brilliant. I still cannot believe the fact that they managed to take a game that was already so beloved and rebuild it to such a monumental level. I love the fact that the merchant gives you all these new extra options. There's new weapons that did not exist in the original game, stuff like the bow gun. It lets you shoot darts that you can then pull out of people when they die. I like the fact that the first time you encounter in each of the chapters, when you find the merchant, he has new items most of the time, and sometimes he'll provide a new discount for new items, a sort of FOMO encouragement. Oh, you want to try out this new shotgun or this new sniper rifle? Well, buy it now because the price is about to go up. There is so much fine-tuning to make this a well-rounded pebble. This is a game that is made to be one smooth, perfect experience. When you first played this game back in 2005, it could feel a bit jarring. Not only was there a big difference in humor, but there was even a big shift in how we went from place to place. There is multiple big sections in the Resident Evil 4 remake that now feel much more cohesive. Everything is so much more well-rounded. Most brilliantly, though, from a writing aspect, there is a ton of notes. Seriously, search areas. There is diaries from servants in the Ramon Castle talking about their resistance to Las Plagas, how they don't want to be infected. There's notes from scientists who willingly succumbed to this terrible parasite. There's notes from villagers who were very happy to worship Lord Sadler. The religiosity, the depth, the lore. I am just... This is the true new dawn of Capcom. Buy this game. If you've never played a Resident Evil, buy this game. If you bought the original and you think, oh, I know what happens, no, you don't. Buy this game. At this point, I am completely sold. I'm going to buy every Resident Evil game forever. The question is, what comes next? Another remake? Resident Evil 9? Are we going to get a reboot of the original Resident Evil or a reconstruction of Code Veronica? At this point, no matter what happens, I trust you completely. Thank you, Capcom, for everything you've done, and thank you especially for the Resident Evil 4 remake. But what do you guys think? Have you been excited for the game? Are you buying the game? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. I am sweating so hard from wearing a stupid jacket with freaking spotlights on my face. Oh god. You know what? Leon takes this jacket off for most of the game anyways. I could have probably just
titties.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.